Does the channel provide value?
Focus on the foundation.
I am a travel vlogger.
It's always about communication.
Build those partnerships.
What are the problems that you solve for your clients?
Just being ahead on the technological side of things.
Leading an organization.
You not only want to survive, but you want to thrive. They said it wouldn't last, and they said that you can't drive profitable and incremental revenue through the affiliate channel. But here we are, 20 years later, and the affiliate channel is alive and kicking and generating profitable revenue for thousands of retailers across the globe. Hi, I am Jamie Birch, your host of the Profitable Performance Marketing Podcast, where we talk to some of the industry's best and brightest about their careers, about leadership, and about how to drive profitable revenue through the affiliate channel. Hey, welcome to the Profitable Performance Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Jamie Birch, CEO and founder of JEBCommerce. I am so excited about our guest today. Before we get started, I want to talk to you about a resource we have available for you. It is the 18-point affiliate program accelerator checklist. You can go grab that checklist at jebcommerce.com/accelerator. And it walks you through, there's a video there, and it walks you through all the things that you need to be doing and looking at to make sure your affiliate program is set up to grow and accelerate as quickly as it can. Now, today's guest is a good friend of mine, and we just have a great conversation, is Diana Gee-Calingo. She is currently the Senior Affiliate Manager for Tailored Brands. So if you don't know that name, you probably know Men's Wearhouse and Joseph A. Banks. Now, we talk about everything from a good baklava to learning how to cook. And then we talk about what it's like to work remote and what's been going on this year, as well as like if you're an employer and a leader of people, you definitely want to listen to this about working remote. Diana tells us all the things that she would want an employer to know about working remote. There's some really good nuggets in here. So definitely listen to this conversation. And there's something here for affiliate managers, how to manage through a bankruptcy. And there's something here for affiliates as well. So everyone is really you want to listen to this episode. So I'm just going to get out of the way and let you listen to my conversation with Diana Gee-Calingo. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Diana Gee-Calingo. You are here with us. Thank you so much for joining me on our podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me today.
Been excited to chat with you and talk about all sorts of stuff. But how are things going for you in general?
Oh, things are good. I mean, considering the pandemic and all, I've been spending a lot of time at home, but that's how it is, you know. I've been doing a lot of baking lately. Been doing a lot.
I was going to ask about your cooking. How's that coming along?
Well, the baking is fine. Cooking, not so good. Well, we're learning the cooking thing. But the baking part, I've been making a lot of like cookies and pies and just different things. Like I even learned how to make a baklava, and so that turned out pretty good. So
no, that is my favorite food of all time. You can make a baklava?
I made it with walnuts the first time, and I think it tastes better that way than with pecans. I tried it with pecans this past weekend, and it didn't turn out as well.
So our listeners want to know what I need to do to get some homemade baklava sent to me. Just I can tell they're going to ask this question.
Yeah, all you need to do is tell me where to ship it, and I'll ship it to you.
I would so enjoy eating one of your baklava, and maybe we record another podcast when we do that. That's fantastic. Now that's kind of hard to do, right? I've made a creme brulee that my wife says is the best creme brulee, that she's ever had.
That's hard to make too, though,
That is very hard to make. So I assume baklava is difficult as well.
It's just a lot of steps because you have to like make sure you melt the butter, have the phyllo dough, make sure you don't dry out the phyllo dough. It's a lot of like you baste the bottom of the pan with like the butter, then you put phyllo dough, another layer of butter, and then phyllo dough, another layer of butter, and then you start to like layer in the nuts and everything, and then add. Yeah, it's a lot of like back and forth, make sure you have all your ingredients and everything.
I'm so hungry right now. And I'm full. I just had lunch.
Well, it's a perfect dessert for lunch.
It is. It is a perfect. Yeah. So, have you baked before, or is this all sort of a new thing
Uh,
for you?
I've been really good at baking, and baking's been my thing. I also just learned how to make almond cookies too. Which is what my
Mm,
grandma's recipe, and so my dad wanted me to make it before Chinese New Year's, and so like I made some almond cookies this past weekend, and they turned out pretty good.
that's awesome. I have family who celebrated Chinese New Year, and that was one of my favorite times to eat some amazing, amazing food. And you told me on our prep call,
Yeah.
you're learning how to cook,
Oh
not just
yeah,
bake, but now
cooking.
cook.
Yeah. So cooking is a different story. My husband used to do all the my husband used to do all the cooking before he passed away. And so now like when I'm trying to learn to cook, I have this new boyfriend and we've been trying to like figure out this HelloFresh thing. And HelloFresh
Mm.
is like, okay, I mean it says it has 6 steps, but it's not really 6 steps. It's like 5 steps within the first step, and they don't really clearly label it out. I'm like, oh, we missed something. There's something missing. Why do we have extra ingredients at the end? We're on step number 4 already, and we're like, oh, we were supposed to add something. And the other day we were trying to make panko chicken or something. I don't know. And he was like, I think I forgot something because we have extra sour cream. I'm like, because the sour cream goes on before you put the panko on. And so it was just like,
No.
oh, well, that's a disaster. But it's been fun though. Like we get to know each other a little bit more, and like we know that we both hate doing dishes at the end. So whoever's
Mm.
house we're at ends up having to do the dishes at the end because we forget to clean up afterwards. But yeah, it's like a disaster at the end. Like a tornado hit the kitchen. We're like, oh, what happened here?
My wife loves when I cook because she doesn't have to, and hates looking at the kitchen when I do. I tend to use every single dish in the house, and then
Yeah,
it is
usually how
just
it is.
a disaster everywhere. Now, how is we were going to try some of those services
Yeah.
like HelloFresh, and our food. We're a weird family, gluten free and
Oh, does
vegetarian
that make it
and
harder to
dairy
like
free.
find things? Yeah.
It was very hard to find things. Have you tried more than one, or are you just taking a stab with HelloFresh?
We just tried HelloFresh because it had like an introductory offer with like get $80 off or something your first 4 boxes or something like that. And so we did like 2 boxes a week for like well, the first month, right? So the first time we did it, we're like, okay, we'll try some spaghetti and we'll try some like something else, and then that was fine. We're like, okay, we get the hang of that. Spaghetti's not hard, but then like you go and you want to try something more authentic, like more Asian like cuisine.
Hmm.
Like we're both Chinese, so we're like grew up in Chinese household eating Chinese food, and Asian food, and so when we open these boxes, like, oh, this is not how they make noodles. No, this is not like, no, this is not my grandma's recipe. No, this is not right. Like we had ramen the other day and it was like worse than the cup of noodles. I was like, no,
Oh no!
I have to show
Oh
you the
no!
pictures because like there's like the picture of what they want it to look like and the picture of what it ended up like. No, no. And it didn't taste very good. I'm like, this is very white. I don't want to say it like that, but it
Mm.
kind of is like very Americanized. Like it's not Asian food at all. And we're like, okay,
Yeah,
let's not try that one again.
and you said that in our prep call, and it I had never thought of that being, you're probably a pretty typical white guy. Uh, the things you have described so far and in our prep call of what they sent sound like all the things I had growing up. So I would never even have thought that it would be a much different experience if you're not a
Yeah,
white
I mean, because
American.
I grew up like my parents were born here, but like they make Chinese food all the time. So like we have like beef and tofu and like stuff like that, and like sometimes we'll have duck and stuff, and we'll have other things. But it's like when you try to make like it in a 6 step type of thing, it doesn't make it like that, because a lot of like Chinese cooking is more than 6 steps, and like to make broth, it's more than just add like some concentrate to water or something. It's more than that. So like I know that from watching my grandma and my mom cook and everything, but like I've never really learned how to cook very well, because they did all the cooking, and then when I got married, like my husband did all the cooking, so it was like I got authentic food all the time, but then I had to figure it out on my own. But I still go to my parents every night for dinner, just because like it's easier that way. It's safer that way
Uh,
too.
that's outstanding. I mean, we never get too old to crave our parents' food, right?
Yeah.
My parents moved to Arizona, so it's a bit harder to get. In my family, some of our staples are things like corn pie. We're from
Oh.
Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania Dutch background, so
Uh-huh.
corn pie, and we have this thing we would have every New Year's called pig stomach, and
Uh-huh.
it kind of looks as gross as that sounds, but it's so good. Shoe fly pie. My sister makes this shoe fly pie.
Uh-huh.
It's got a molasses base. Oh, it's so good. But
Have
yeah,
you tried to make any of them, like your own, like dishes, authentic dishes from when you were growing up?
yeah, I have done corn pie in college, and then
Uh-huh.
after that, and I'm pretty good at replicating that. My grandmother's, my nana's cheesecake is the
Oh,
best cheesecake
cheesecake.
around, and I've been able to replicate that. I don't eat meat anymore, so the
Uh-huh.
pig stomach is is not something. It's basically a big sausage stuffed in the stomach of a pig.
You probably wouldn't like a beef tongue, because that's what my parents make too sometimes, this beef tongue, and that's really good.
I've had it, and it is really good. I agree.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
now that
okay.
we
That's the first person that I've met that's white that's eaten it, okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah, mostly Asian people eat it.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
was
we've
a kid
had
that
it.
and I was that kid growing up when I went to school at lunch and brought a thermos with rice and tongue in it, and everybody be like, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "Food? You want to try some?" They're like, "No."
It's it's food that tastes you back. Well, now that I'm adequately starving, and hearing about all this food, why don't we dive into, the topic of the day and
Okay.
affiliate marketing? You've been doing this for longer than I have,
Oh,
and you've
really?
got some amazing experience. Yeah, we've been both been doing this a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And you go back to 99. That's when I started as well. So how'd you find affiliate marketing and start your career?
So after college, I applied at Sharper Image, and that was like my first corporate gig after like I graduated, and I was so nervous going to the interview because I've never worked like at corporate office before. Like I had some marketing jobs, but mostly I worked at the Cache Valley School District for like my whole like half my life too. So like it was different. So I applied there, and I went through the interview, and it was just more of a content specialist where it like basically copy and paste like the content onto the site. And so because I majored in computer information systems and marketing, so I was like, oh, this will fit for my thing because it's pretty simple. You just need to know some HTML and stuff. And so after I started working there, I started doing like some of the banners and some of like the creative work on the site. And then like the affiliate manager needed like some help with some banners, so I created that. And then like somehow in between I changed positions, and I started working um under the digital marketing team there. And then they're like, oh, the manager for affiliate marketing left. Do you want to try and fill in for that spot? And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what affiliate marketing is, but sure. But Natalie, who's my boss at the time, was really awesome. She like helped me like learn all the lingo of it and everything. And so figuring out what a publisher meant, what an affiliate was, what just those simple things, how to like
Yeah.
all the terminology, like when you're learning. Now that I look back at it, I go, oh, it was so easy before just to know all that stuff. But at that time, I was like, what does that all mean? And I could see like everybody like nowadays they're probably like that too when I explain affiliate marketing. But it's basically, that's how I got into it. And I think like every time I said yes to something, because also at that time Sharper Image was going through bankruptcy, and so like a lot of people were leaving, and so I said yes, I'll do affiliate marketing. And then soon after that the email person left, and I said okay, sure, I'll do that too. And so like I just kept saying yes to things, and that gave me the opportunity to like grow my path where it is now. Because after that, after Sharper Image, I left and I went to the North Face, and I started their affiliate program, and I started their email marketing program as well. So like all that stuff kind of helped me grow into the next step in next phase in my career.
That's awesome. And I want to highlight that for our listeners,
Hmm.
saying yes. And it really
Yeah.
mimics what you experienced, and what you did is kind of why I got into this field. And I had several opportunities, and one of them was here in the internet, and the
Hmm.
others were in very typical industries, finance, manufacturing, things like that.
Hmm.
And the reason I went to the internet was I felt that if I can show responsibility in this one area that they're giving me for the job, and there's all this other stuff emerging, like
Hmm.
we didn't know what was going to happen in '99, and sometimes I still feel that way. But I figured if I could show capability and responsibility in this area, and I just kept saying yes to these other things, then I
Hmm.
would be able to do what would take me 10, 15 years in a more traditional industry at the time. I could do that in 5 in the internet space. And it sounds like you did that really the same thing, is say yes to everything. My first job was a paid search or a SEO guru was my
Hmm.
title, and they asked me if I could manage their search engine optimization. I found out earlier that day what that term meant,
Oh, you didn't
and I
even know
just
what
said,
it was.
I was walking out of my apartment, and I looked at my a friend of mine who was a consumer or a computer science major,
Hmm.
and I said, "Hey, man, I'm traveling to Post Falls, Idaho, for an SEO job. What is search engine optimization?" And as I'm walking to the car, he's giving me the computer science rundown of what this is, and gave me a couple terms to use. And when I got there, they asked if I could do it, and I just said yes. And they didn't know otherwise. And so I got the job. So, how important was that saying yes throughout your career?
I think it's important, especially when you're fresh out of college also, and when you're also learning new things, you just say yes to it. And at that point, when you're young, you could pick up things real easily. Nowadays, I don't know if I could pick up things as quickly as I used to. But like before, like I could say yes, and then I'll just go read about it later on, like that day, like you did, and try to figure that out. And I would say that like it's like the best thing to just say yes to it, because it gives you all these other opportunities and doors that open. It's the same thing happened in my teaching career path too, because I was working at the adult school at the same time while this was all happening. So I've always had 2 jobs. Okay,
Hmm.
so I was a teacher aide before at the adult school, and before that I was working in the office. But they asked me, do you want to be a teacher and teach high school diploma? And I'm like, sure. And then they're like, all you need to do is go get your, teaching credentials. And at that time, it was really easy. Just like I had really good grades, straight A's and everything. So I was like one of those nerdy students, and said, okay, I'll do it. And then they like tell you take a couple classes and you have good grades, then they give you certification. So I've been a teacher since then as well. So I've been growing
Wow.
in both career paths. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do in life, because I wanted to teach, but I also wanted to do affiliate marketing. So I just kept saying yes to both of them at the same time, but they all worked out because I would teach at night and I would work during the day in my day job. So I've always had 2 jobs, and I still do. Like I'm working now during the day, but then I'll teach at night sometimes, like, and I'll have like my class online instead, because now it's like we're during
Wow.
the pandemic. And so it's been really rewarding in both sides of my life. So like I've had like I go from a stressful day job, and then sometimes at night it would be less stressful because it's a different type of stress. It's helping people push themselves and help them learn and have them say yes to getting their degree.
Where's that work ethic come from?
I don't know. I think it's just because when I was little, I was always told get straight A's, get straight A's. Because you grow up in a Chinese household and you're the oldest daughter. They say get straight A's and you go and do it. And I was always
Mhm.
rewarded for it. I always said like, if I got straight A's, oh, can I get a radio in my room or something? This is like when we had like landlines and stuff. So it was like, can I get
Yeah.
straight A's? If I get straight A's, can I get a TV in my room? If I get straight A's, can I have a phone in my room? So at that point, it was like I had everything I needed at that point. So I kept saying, well, if I keep saying yes to like getting good grades and everything, then my parents are gonna treat me like respectfully as well. But of course, we had our issues too because I was always going out a lot too. But I always had straight A's, so they didn't have anything to argue with me about that. So I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
tell my
just
kids that
yeah.
the more you're in line with your grades and chores and things like that, the more freedom you get.
Yeah. And now that I have a 10-year-old, he doesn't care if he gets straight A's or not right now. He's total opposite of me. He's like, but if I want Legos, I'm like, then you need to earn it then. And he goes, oh, okay. So if I do my chores and I do this, it's like motivation. You have to find the right way to motivate them. Otherwise, they don't do anything.
The world is about incentives, and I see you're using some tools that benefit us as affiliate marketers early on, like negotiating. I'll do this if you get
Yeah.
me this.
Yeah, I didn't realize that would come in handy later on. It's like more of give and take and also relationship building. You build those relationships over the years and it helps you in the long run, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what were some pivotal decisions you made? Because throughout your career, Sharper Image, you said yes. Then
Hmm.
you launched the program at the North Face,
Uh-huh.
and so looking back on your career, like what were some of the pivotal moments that you needed to make a decision? What did you do, and how did you make those decisions?
Oh, at the time, after I was at the North Face for a while, I was there for like 3 or 4 years, and I needed to make a decision on like to change jobs because I wanted more pay. And at that time they weren't paying enough, and I just had a kid at that time, and I had to think for myself, I need something more. And so I applied for another job. I wasn't thinking about leaving the North Face because it had such great benefits and it had great people there, but like pay wise, like I needed to make that decision. And so there was a position at Account Now, which was a prepaid card company, and it paid a little bit more, but like I had to make that decision if I wanted to leave, what I've known, and grow and like, you know, started the program for. So that was a pivotal decision because I had to make a decision for myself and my family and like thinking about how much time I was spending working and everything. Eventually I wanted to like only have one job, but that never happened. So it's just kind of like happens. I just kind of go with it. Um,
Well, you say yes.
yeah, I kept saying yes to everything. That's the only problem too. Um, so I made a decision to go into prepaid cards, which is totally different affiliate marketing because it's a lead generation. And I didn't know a lot about lead generation at the time because I was always working in retail. And so that was a big decision too. But by saying yes to that position, I learned a lot more about affiliate marketing that I didn't know before. So like I'm
Mhm.
finding like all these opportunities always happen for a reason, and I always find that if like another door opens for you and another door shuts, and at least this opportunity will bring you something new that you didn't learn before.
Now, was it difficult to get that position? Because I've done both lead gen and retail, more retail than lead gen, and they are so different. Was that a stretch for you to get into that role?
I think it was just learning the different dynamics of that side of prepaid cards. Like the interview itself was probably one of the easiest that I've had, honestly. I was really like surprised he didn't ask as many questions as he did, but I think it was my personality that showed through, because I have a
Mhm.
very bubbly and upbeat personality, and I had, the whole background of affiliate marketing. So he knew that I knew what I was doing. It's just learning a new aspect of it, which, it's just developing more relationships with different types of publishers that are more lead gen and not retail heavy. So I think it was having that knowledge and the foundation of that helped me. And I was always willing to try anything new. And I think he saw that too.
That's outstanding. Now, tell us what you're doing now.
So right now I work at Tailored Brands and I run the program for Men's Wearhouse and Joseph A. Bank, and I'm the senior affiliate marketing manager now.
Awesome. Awesome. Those are two really well-known brands, and both I've personally been a customer of. So that's really exciting. Now, what would you tell your 20-year-old self now? If
My
you could go
20-year-old
back, what would you say?
about my personal life or about my career path?
Probably professional. Yeah.
So professional, I would tell myself probably to learn how to cook sooner rather than later. Um,
It's a little harder when we get older, huh?
yeah, it is. It's like you're kind of stuck in your ways. Um,
That's awesome.
Professionally, I would say keep saying yes to things, keep learning things. I think learning how to deal with different types of people, because in college at that time when I was like 19, 20, I was in college, we had a lot of group projects, and I was always the person that was in charge of the project because I wanted to make sure we had good grades on that project. So
Yeah.
you learn to like manage people and manage expectations and how to get people to do their work, or you just do it yourself so you can get that good grade. You just have to learn your sacrifices, I guess, at that time. But at the time, I probably would tell myself, work is different than, school, but it's also
Mhm.
similar in the way that you interact with people. You have to have good relationships with people to get them to do the work that you want them to do. And it still holds true now. Like as a manager, you have to, be on good graces with these people and also not like treat them like crap, to get them to get the work done.
Yeah, well, it's really good advice. And both of them, learn to cook earlier and keep saying yes. I love those.
What would you
Okay,
tell
so
yourself? What would you tell yourself when
oh,
you're that young?
geez, at 20 years old, I hadn't quite yet made it to college, and
Mhm.
I probably tell myself to get my rear end gear a little earlier.
Were you not a good student back then?
No, well, uh, what would they say? I had a lot of potential.
Oh,
So
those are those
I
students that I get afterwards that come back through and want their high school diploma. They have a lot of potential.
Yeah, I was real close to not graduating high school, and so it took me um, a few years to kind of get back to it. And in college, I graduated with honors. I did really well and got through it fairly quickly.
Mhm.
I think I probably would say to relax and you have time, because
Uh-huh.
I believe at that 20-year old, I was really struggling with what I was going to do the rest of my life, which seems kind of funny now. But there was a lot of pressure on figuring that out. And I was still young enough to be not care about it as well and making really stupid decisions. So I'd probably say, you know, on one hand, get your life in gear, and on the other, like relax about it too. I don't know if that
Mhm.
makes sense, but yeah, I put these questions together for you. I never thought of how I would answer that, but that's probably what I'd say. I want to slap myself in the face and tell me to get moving, and at the same time relax about getting moving.
Right? It's either you're motivated or you're not motivated. There's different ways that you can motivate yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and it really took until uh, my parents had to kick me out,
Ah.
and that was the second time they kicked me out, or the
Second
second
time?
time I left. I
What's
can't
the first
remember.
time?
No, the first time was earlier. I was just graduated high school,
Uh-huh.
and was doing things that those kids do, drinking and partying, and my parents told me, I don't know if they told me to leave the first time or I just did. And then I came back, and the second time my dad took me out to dinner and he said, "Hey, so you can go in the army, you
Mhm.
can go to college, or you can just leave tonight." And I
Wow.
went, well, I don't really want to go in the military. No disrespect to those who serve.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. Um, College seemed easy, and that gave me some time to not have to be homeless that night. And being homeless that night seemed kind of difficult. So uh, we applied to school, and I went to school. So I was a little bit, I think, failure to launch was kind of my thing. Like I had a pretty easy. I had things pretty well, but, pretty good off from 18 to 20,
Uh-huh.
and my parents had to basically. Well, not basically, they had to kick me out for me to get things going. But yeah,
So you
yeah,
didn't want to
that was.
originally go to college then?
I always knew I probably would.
Mhm.
I just wasn't thinking about it, to be honest with you. At the time, I was installing satellite dishes and audio video systems
Mhm.
for homes and restaurants.
Mhm.
And I got to travel 6 states by myself and train people all over Washington, Oregon, Alaska, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. And so every 6 weeks, I spent 2 weeks on the road, and then I was training all these staff on how to use the system and earn more tips by using it. And then when I'd come home, I'd install these really awesome Bose home stereo stuff. And so I was doing really cool stuff. So I never really thought about it.
Mhm.
And then when I had those three options presented to me, college seemed like probably the easiest, and I could still maintain a lot of the stupid lifestyle I was living. And but I went there. I really pulled my head out at that point and went in and hit it with all cylinders firing, and got out there and got out of there about 3.5 years, and went every quarter, summers included, and worked
Oh,
my tail off
smart.
at a horse ranch,
Mhm.
and then got right to my career as soon as I could. In fact, I taught my last class on e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
My last class to graduate, I actually taught because I was already working for that company in Post Falls.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So now we have had a crazy year, and you have this experience that I think is really unique for many of us who are just starting to work remote this year. You've
Mhm.
worked remote for almost your entire career, right?
Well, not
Good
all of
part of
it.
it.
Mostly, like the past 5 years. When I started working at Foreo, I worked at Foreo for 5 years, and they were based out of Croatia. So I was
Oh,
lucky,
wow.
and I just worked from home because after I left Account Now. I was looking for something remote because my husband was sick at the time, so I wanted to make sure I had time to help him and take care of him, but also like
Yeah.
work. So um this opportunity presented itself, and I feel like everything happens for a reason at the right time in my life. It's not what I planned, but it just happens and it kind of works out. I guess I'm just lucky, I guess, or I have a really good guardian angel up there.
Yeah.
um but like Foreo was awesome. I got to travel, I got to work remotely, I got to travel to Croatia like a couple times. We also have we had an office in like Vegas as well, so I was there a lot too. So I learned a lot working internationally with different people in different countries. When I first started there, like I was working um, like all hours because Croatia was early in the morning for me, and then I was also working with Shanghai because they had an office there as well. So it was like all the three brands that I worked with, which was Foreo, Lalo, and Intamina, and like they were all in different countries, and so I felt like I was constantly like working all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
I had to learn how to like shut down sometimes and not be on all the time because I would have really early morning calls with Croatia because they'd be on around 6:30 my time, and then like I'd have to talk at midnight someone in Shanghai, so I had to manage my time a little bit wisely. And so I learned like how to manage the time and how to get your typical 8 hours. It's never typical 8 hours as affiliate marketing, but like,
True.
we work, our hours that we need and get the work done. And I'm a very determined person, so like I know like how to manage time and schedules. Um, a lot of the time because I'm always managing schedules for my family and everything. So I had to just manage my own expectations as well, and just like take a couple hours in the middle of the day and take time off then, instead of trying to work all 12 hours from like 6:30 in the morning till like midnight, so otherwise you get burnt out real quick.
Yeah, and that flexibility, we have clients in both of those regions, and sometimes on the same team. So it's a
Hmm.
little easier to say, well, hey, person A, you're going to take that morning call, and person B, you're going to work later. But it's really hard to do that when you're A and B,
Yeah.
and figuring that out. Now, that was your first big foray into working remote. What were some of the mistakes that you made early on as a remote
uh,
employee?
Probably not being organized, having like a set area to work at, because I was working at the kitchen table, I was working like in the living room, and it was just like kind of like all over the place, and nothing was always set, and I was always losing like papers and stuff like that because I had a kid at the time that was running around all the time,
Hmm.
so just not being organized. And I think like once I was able to find a set area to sit at, and organize myself and like kind of like work, think of it as your work area, and
Hmm.
the rest of the place is just like the house. Like I don't do dishes during the day because that's not part of my work hours, I'll wait till the end of the day or something like that. And it doesn't bother me, I'm the type that lets all the housework just be like there for the end of the day, not during work hours. But yeah, I'll throw in laundry during the morning hours to start, but I won't touch it for the rest of the day. Um, but just learning how to manage your schedule, your expectations for like when people think that you're working at home. They say, "Oh, are you really
Hmm.
working?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm working." Like my parents always drop by and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Working. I'm on a call." They're like, "Oh, okay," because they'll drop by and drop off groceries and like whatnot. But it was just like I have to tell them, like, you have to set like your foot down and say, "No, we can't just keep coming over at random times of the day because I'm on the call. We could set time in the middle of the day during lunchtime, because I do have my lunchtime hours that I set, So yeah, having like expectations set too, and organization.
And that's a great, my first work remote situation was with a company out of New York,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the only remote employee. So I definitely battled at times. Like if I wasn't available,
Uh-huh.
then, and, maybe I was taking a bio break
Yeah,
or
right.
grabbing a sandwich. If I wasn't available, I always felt like there was an impression of like, well, you're not working. Well,
Yeah, I feel
I
like
don't always
I
have.
had that. I felt like I had to push harder, or I had to work harder, or to show that I was working harder, be online longer. I don't know. I feel like that.
Yeah. Do you think that pressure is still there now that, we're all working remotely?
Well, we're all working remotely, but we all know, I think now, like that I've been working, like for the past year, we've been on quarantine, right? So we've been working remotely almost a year now. So, like, technically,
Yeah.
everybody's kind of used to like the ebbs and flows of someone's day. But I do notice that a lot of people still schedule meetings at 12 noon. And I'm like, who does that? Don't schedule meetings at noon. I want to eat
I'm eating.
lunch, you know? So I try to block time in my schedule now where it's like I set a lunch schedule. So no one blocks any time off there, because you do need that break in the middle of the day. I'll start earlier in the day, like I like to start early in the morning at 6:30 in the morning when everything's quiet, check through
Mhm.
emails. And I find that spreading out your day kind of helps a little bit. like you don't feel so rushed to get everything done, you know. Yeah, I'll start work in the morning, check emails, get my kid up at 7, and then I'll take him to my parents and drop him off, and so he could do school there, and then I come back. So it's like I'm not constantly at my desk, but I'm also not constantly not away from my desk, you know. But it's just having the flexibility to do everything in between things, and then setting your schedule and time for when you do set your meetings up and everything.
What's your organization routine? Because you've mentioned that a couple times. Do you have a routine to stay organized? You mentioned, waking up early, getting started, blocking
Mhm.
out your calendar. I have a routine that I start on Monday morning that helps me
Mhm.
get organized. Do you have a routine, or is it just kind of tools that you use throughout the week?
Some of the things that help me are waking up early. I have breakfast and coffee in the morning before I start my day. And I know everybody doesn't like to eat or drink early in the morning, but I need that quiet time just to kind of think about how I'm going to tackle my day today. Like, because before all the craziness of your kid waking up and everything and dropping off and doing all this stuff in the meetings that happen all throughout the day, I check my schedule and I go, what's my plans for today? And I look at, how like what my plans are for the week, kind of just to kind of get a kind of a graze of it all. And then I have a notebook that I kind of old style, like I just like write all my notes down on a notebook, and kind of put boxes of my tasks for the day. Like Monday morning is definitely report morning, you know. You got to pull all
Hmm.
the reports and everything and analyze everything. So I block time in my schedule for that, you know. And just kind of like start off the day that way. If I wake up late on a Monday, then I feel kind of like not productive. I feel like I'm kind of scattered, so I try to like make sure everything is kind of situated. Like I make sure I wash all the dishes the night before so I can make breakfast on time, and
Yep.
whatnot.
Yep. I do the same thing.
Yeah, because I've learned that like if you run late in the morning, the rest of your day is kind of late too. So, and I'm not like the type of person that likes to be late anywhere. I'm very much on time and very early bird, you know. So like I want to like be efficient with my time, especially with all these things that I'm doing where I'm working 2 jobs and I have a kid and have all these other responsibilities, So it's more of being more efficient with your time. And if it's something that you can do without, don't do it then, and you just have to learn sometimes to say no to things. Like I know I say yes to a lot of things, but if people
Yep.
just to go out to lunch or something and it doesn't fit within my day that day, I have to say no. We'll go another day, or something like that, or something.
Yeah. Now, what do you think leaders, employers, managers should know that maybe their staff isn't doesn't feel comfortable enough to tell them about working remotely, whether what it's like or what they need, or how the leadership is making it more difficult? What do employees want their employers to know?
To give them the time to organize their a desk area, make sure they give them the time to have like a work space in their house. Some people work better in the morning, let them work morning hours, if they work better at night, let them work the majority of their hours at night, but be available for those meetings when you need them. But also don't schedule meetings during the middle of lunch. That's kind of not like I don't like meetings in the middle of lunch. I want to eat at that time or try to go work out, but mostly eat. um I've tried to
That's a good
like.
one. I have to look. I may schedule meeting. I am up at 5. I work out, and so I'm usually eating lunch at like 10:45 or 11. So
Yeah, I
I
eat
have
lunch
to look
at
at my
11
calendar.
too. Yeah.
I may I may totally be booking meetings at noon.
Yeah, so like I'm always like, oh, I got a meeting at noon. I'm like, that means I have to rush to eat lunch or something, or you know, um,
It's a really good thing. And I loved your thoughts on some people work better at night than the morning. And,
yeah,
I think what we found this year is a lot of those jobs and those office places that everyone thought like we couldn't possibly work remote, and mine included.
Mm-hmm.
We gave 2 flex days per week before this,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, no, we need that time face to face. Well, we're a year later, and it's probably 9 months for us where we don't have an office,
Yeah.
and everyone's just as productive. The culture is still very good, and
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of showed us like, well, okay, we didn't need an office. And so I wonder if there's a bit more of that. Like maybe we don't need the
Yeah.
regular 9 to 5. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a night owl, that's maybe when I do my best work, and give some flexibility to that. I don't know if I'm ready to do that, but that's a really good insight.
And I also find that since we've been working remotely, I've met more people through my teams and through my company, through the meetings online, through Zoom, because they don't just walk by my desk anymore. Or, because I sat in the middle of the aisle, I thought I would meet more people, but I don't, And I was also really
Really?
new to the company too. Like I was only like 2 or 3 months into it before we went on working remotely, and I was so glad of it because I was tired of the commute, because I really hate commuting. Um,
Yeah.
but but I've met more people through our Zoom calls and through our meetings than I would have during just meeting in person. And I feel like I've been more productive now than I have if I would have been in person, because we have meetings to be specific about things and be careful about everybody's time, and then we go and get the task done. We don't go have a meeting about a meeting to have a meeting,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like you meet everybody and you see them on the camera, and then you see their title and you go, oh, I know what they do. And we have these big like team meetings every like Tuesday mornings, and I've met like 80 more people now than I have if I would,
Wow.
than I wouldn't have, when I was in office.
Yeah, and 2 things that come to mind. One is more intentionality in developing relationships. Like it seems in our workspace, sounds like in yours, there's more intentionality, between everybody and by everybody to make those connections. And then the other thing I wanted to say, you talked about commute, and I think as leaders, we forget how taxing
Yeah,
a commute can be on our staff.
yeah,
For me, I love driving. So I used to love the half-hour commute. I listen to my podcast, or you just think about getting ready for the day.
yeah.
And then I kind of decompress on the way home. But not everyone's like that. And not
No.
every commute is a straight shot through, the beautiful countryside of North
No.
Idaho. So
No, it's not in the Bay Area, not like that at all.
no,
I was
no, it's
commuting an
crazy.
hour each way, and it was really taxing on me because I was like, I could get more work done while I was at home for this hour if I didn't commute, or something like that. I find that I was really grouchy at the end of the day after a commute.
Yeah, which is the last thing your family and your kids need is you come home and you to be grouchy and
I
figure that out.
really
Now,
couldn't, yeah. So, because I was used to working at home for so long that when I did commute, it was like totally, totally bad after that. I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I would talk to my friends on the phone while I was driving, but I was still stressed out, and I knew like I needed to like decompress before I went home to see my kid, because otherwise he'd be like
yeah,
stressing me out even more, So,
yeah, I hear you. No, I raised 2 on my own for 5 years, and I remember that feeling you want to be present when you get home. Now,
mm.
let's talk about the last year with affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing in the pandemic. What's the year been like for you?
Oh, it's been really different. So when we came back, because I was on furlough for 2 months, and so when we came back, I had to like restart the program again, basically. So it was like really hard to like get things back to the levels that they were before, and I think it was just trying to get the publishers back on board to the same levels, producing the same traffic and the same sales volumes. It's still been a struggle, and also with the pandemic and people not purchasing as much, it makes it harder on sales numbers too. So there's all the different factors in that.
Yeah, and your two brands. This is what I was listening to a completely unrelated podcast
Hmm.
early or last week, and they shared a stat that men's shoe companies, not
Hmm.
like sneakers, but dress shoes you'd wear to the office, they're really suffering because we don't have to buy shoes to go to the office. And a lot of Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Banks, a lot of that clothing is for that. So you experienced a dip because people didn't need the product. And then now, as things are getting back up, trying
Hmm.
to get everyone back in again.
Hmm. And the funny thing is, I think our shoes are doing pretty good too. And I was like, where are the people going with shoes on if they're working from home?
You don't get all dressed up when you work from your
Oh my
special
gosh,
spot at your house.
I haven't worn jeans in a year, to be
I
honest.
realized the other day I was at the supermarket and I looked down and I had slippers on, and I
Yeah,
realized
I'm
I
like,
hadn't worn shoes in 3 weeks.
I'm in like sweatpants and flip flops for every day now, except for like if
Yep.
I go for a walk or run or something, then I'll use my running shoes. But still, I'm just kind of like comfy all the time, and I'm like, why bother?
Yeah, business casual has definitely meant something different in the pandemic.
Yeah,
Now, it's hard to plan. For me, it's been hard to plan
yeah,
from a corporate
planning.
perspective because planning, you're looking ahead, and
Hmm.
since March of last year,
Hmm.
it's been every week has been something different. So how have you been planning, since the pandemic hit and now going forward? Like, how do you plan for your affiliate channel
It's
success?
hard because like I'm used to like planning a month or two in advance for placements, and these placements I've been like buying the day of or the week of, and then that's totally not my style. But because of the way the company was running and changing their offers and their promotions to go with what the customer was buying at the time, we had to constantly change the promotion and then change the placement. And so at a certain point, like maybe like Thanksgiving and Day, I was buying placements still, for Black Friday or something. And
Oh
it's
yeah, the day before.
yeah, and that's usually not what I'm used to planning. I'm used to like, okay, I'll start planning in September, October, for the rest of the year, and then I'll have everything locked in. But no, that's not how it is this year. I was literally every week scrambling to like, okay, what placement can I buy now? Oh, I have money now. Oh, I can buy it now. Okay. So it was just like constantly chasing things and being more reactive than proactive. And I know it's not like the best thing to be like thinking of, but like that's the only way I could describe how it felt at the time, was just being reactive. Oh, we're gonna have an offer next week. Okay, I better buy some placements for next week then. you know.
Yeah.
So
And now going forward now, is it still that same sort of assess the situation and react to it and plan as best you can, or do you think you're able to get out a few more months?
I think now we're planning a little bit ahead more, at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead out, versus, like the day of. But definitely better in planning. And I feel like with the vaccines coming and having, the government like helping out a little bit more now, we can kind of plan a little bit better. We know that things are opening up now. Like
Hmm.
not as many states are under quarantine. California is kind of still under like some kind of quarantine. It's just very like limited to like you can go out, but like the store capacities are like 20-25% or something. So it's different now. I mean, now that we know that things are slowly opening up, we can kind of pace it out later to plan for placements.
Yeah, and we're seeing the same thing. There's a lot more stability.
Hmm.
And, we know a lot more about it now, and the vaccines rolling out, like you said, and those things. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you had the experience of working at a company, managing their affiliate program through a bankruptcy.
Hmm.
And this, I don't think, gets a lot of attention in our space. But there are some real unique problems that come with that. in getting through it and rebuilding afterwards. So, can you talk to me a little bit about and really share for our listeners that may not be aware, and especially affiliates, of how that all works and some of the unique things involved in it and your experience with it?
So some of the experiences like that I know that are impactful are like how the publisher feels about your company and how confident they feel that they're going to get paid. A lot of it, has to do with their commissions. And so we have to like give them the confidence that we'll pay them. So some of the bigger publishers, they require prepayments, so we'll prepay like a month or, whatever the placements are ahead of time, just so that way they feel confident that they'll get paid during the time that, we're bankrupt or something or under reconstruction, So it's that plus having the confidence that the publisher can still drive the amount of traffic as well, or if they want to, it's a lot of that. And even though like you have like these great relationships, sometimes their finance teams don't see eye to eye on that, because they're looking at the numbers perspectives while you're still like trying to maintain their relationship with your account manager there. It's just a little give and take there.
Now, one thing that I remember managing accounts that went through bankruptcies, and one of them went through two in 4 years, was
Mhm.
the affiliates. They have a contractual agreement with the advertiser through the network to be paid on sales that happen. But when
Mhm.
you go through a bankruptcy, the judge determines who gets paid
Mhm.
and how that restructuring is happening. And in all of the instances that I've been managing a program or my company has, where the advertiser went through bankruptcy, there was a period of time where affiliates, they weren't going to get paid. That was
Yeah.
part of the restructuring.
Yeah.
So did you experience that? And what were the affiliates like?
Yeah, we did experience that. We didn't pay for a certain period of time because of the filing. But yeah, the publishers were not happy, but there wasn't anything that we could technically do. We could just tell them to go fill out a form online for them to appeal for it. And so that was the process. We just were told they can go fill out the form, appeal for it, and then see when and if they get paid after the bankruptcy is done and they emerge.
Yeah, and did you lose any partnerships, long term because they, what I've found is not a lot of people understand how that works.
Yeah.
And even some well-known affiliates, big affiliates, don't necessarily know the mechanism of how they get paid. They don't realize that the commission is earned, an invoice is sent to the advertiser has 30 days to pay it, and any of those outstanding invoices are subject to the bankruptcy.
Hmm.
So they may not get paid. So there were several times where it took years to get an affiliate back in. Did you experience anything like that?
There were a handful of them that didn't want to work with us during that time. But once we emerged from it, then they came back on board, and it just took a little time to. It's still taking time to like get up to the same volumes and numbers, but also we're also in the middle of pandemic too, so it's not really like the fairest way to like measure it. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like you feel like you're got I don't know all the odds against you at one point, trying to get things up and running.
Yeah, it definitely can be overwhelming, especially this year. So, do you have time for one more question?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what does 2021 look like? What do you think is going to happen this year?
We're gonna get our vaccines. I hope.
Praise the Lord.
I know. And hopefully get back to a little bit of normalcy. I don't even know what normalcy is right now. I'm so used to being in the house and baking and everything, but I think I've
Yeah.
learned that, what's more important now than what it was before, enjoying the small moments with friends, because get to always have those moments, I spent a lot of time with my family, but as much as I love them, I'm a little tired, but at least like I have like a set of people that we can like depend on, because without them, like I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. I wouldn't be able to work and everything because they help watch my kid. I've been really grateful for that, and I don't know how I would have done it like with school, with my kid going to school and me like working, and yeah, it was crazy. But definitely appreciate the small things in life now.
Yeah, definitely. It has been one wacky year. Well, Diana, thank you so much. I have enjoyed our conversation
Me too.
immensely. Lots of really good stuff in here. You were a fantastic guest. So thank you for joining. Now, if anyone wants to get in touch with you and maybe ask questions about some of the stuff we talked about, or just make a connection, what's the preferred way for them to either connect with you or follow you?
They can follow me on Instagram, or they can follow me on LinkedIn, or they can email me. I'm always open to anything. They could text me if they really want to.
Well, I won't give out your phone number, but what's your
I know.
Instagram handle?
But yeah, you can Instagram me on Lil D99, or on LinkedIn it's under Diana G, and Facebook if they want to find me too.
All right. Well, I will include some of those links in our show notes. Diana, again, thank you so much for taking an hour out of your time, and actually an hour twice, because I was in the wrong room last time.
No
So,
worries. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's been fun chatting with you.
man, oh man, Diana, thank you so much for joining me on the Profitable Performance Marketing Podcast. There's so many things we talked about, and I am going to definitely send you my address. I would love to try your homemade baklava. That sounds so good. In fact, all the food we talked about sounds great. But I really want to highlight some things. I want you to, if you are an affiliate or an affiliate manager, and either the company you work at or you work with is going through a bankruptcy, definitely go back and listen to that. It is a unique situation, and it can really ruin relationships. And that's important in affiliate marketing. And what you heard Diana say is how she was able to get the partnerships back. And so you really want to listen to that. Prepaying at that moment, but really think about transparency. Talk about this and get those things out there as soon as you can. But there are some really good pointers on working remote that, set aside a certain area to work at, be really, really organized, and definitely block your time out for lunch. So you can follow Diana. We will include all her socials in the podcast show notes at JEBCommerce.com. And Diana, I can't thank you enough. It's a really, really good conversation. Can't wait for others to listen to it. Now, don't forget, if you're a listener, we have an 18-point affiliate program accelerator checklist available to you. So that is an 8-point checklist that you can walk through and really evaluate your affiliate program to see if it's set up for success. You can go to JEBCommerce.com/accelerator, and that is totally free for you to download and easy access. And thank you for listening. If you found this podcast helpful and useful, please go to Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever podcast player you are listening to or listening with, and give us a review. A 5-star review would be great. And if you found it so useful, you think others should hear it, then definitely share it in Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, and everywhere, and send it to someone who you think would really do well for listening to it. So thank you for listening, and a special shout out to my team here at JEBCommerce, who really is the backbone of this podcast. Shane, you do so much for us. I really appreciate your hard work, all the editing, and you just make this podcast look great. And then Katie, all the work you do on the back end and then the show notes and putting that together. Really appreciate both of you. So yeah, and if you need any help with your affiliate marketing, as always, you can email me at gethelp@jebcommerce.com, or you can set up time with me at calendly.com/Jamie Birch. Thank you and have a great day.